are. Family life within the kingdom of illusory energy, Maya, is just like a prison for the eternal living entity. In a prison, a prisoner is shackled by iron chains and iron bars. Similarly, a conditioned soul is shackled by the charming beauty of a woman and by her solitary embraces and talks of so-called love and by the sweet words of his small children. Thus, he forgets his real identity. In this verse, the words Strinam Asatinam indicate that womanly love is just to agitate the mind of man. Actually, in the material world, there is no love. Both the woman and the man are interested in their sense gratification. For sense gratification, a woman creates an illusory love, and the man becomes enchanted by such false love and forgets his real duty. When there are children as the result of such a combination, the next attraction is to the sweet words of the children. The love of the woman at home and the talk of the children make one a secure prisoner. And thus, he cannot leave his home. Such a person is termed in Vedic language a Grihamedi, which means one whose center of attraction is home. Grihastha refers to one who lives with family, wife and children, but whose real purpose of living is to develop Krishna consciousness. One is therefore advised to become a Grihastha and not a Grihamedhi. The Grihastha's concern is to get out of the family life created by illusion and enter into real family life with Krishna. Whereas the Grihamedi's business is to repeatedly chain himself to so-called family life in one life after another and perpetually remain in the darkness of Maya. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. These are words spoken by Lord Kapila to his mother, and he is describing what happens to a conditioned soul in this world. So in this verse he is saying, Akshiptatmendriya strinam asatinam cha mayaya. Atma, Indriya, his heart and his senses, akshipta, are charmed by strinam, by the woman, and this charm, this love, all of that is asati, asat. It is not real, it is not permanent. Asatinam cha mayaya, and it's a fabrication of illusory energy of the material world, of the Lord. And how this illusion and the charm works, raho rachitaya lapaihi. In solitude, he has wonderful conversations with her, and that solidifies the bond. Raho rachitaya alapaihi, conversations, talks, and raho rachitaya alapaihi, in solitude. And further to that, shishunam kalabhashinam, and then there will be small children in the family, and they are very, very sweet words. He is charmed by those. He gives his heart and senses to a woman, Atma Indriya Strinam, who falsely charms him. Asatinam Akshipta, with Maya, mayaya. Raho rachitaya lapaihi. He enjoys solitary embraces. Raho rachitaya. And talking with her, alapaihi. And he is enchanted, akshiptha, by the sweet words of small children. Shishunam kalabhashinam. So one may wonder, this is all very nice. This is a description of what happens in this world. The solitary embrace and the talks of a woman and the sweet words of children. So what is wrong with this? Why one shouldn't be charmed by these things? This is, after all, nature. Nature has designed it like that. So for that, Srila Prabhupada has very nicely described what happens because of that. This is, he forgets his real identity. When the living entity is engrossed in the charms of a woman and the charms of the sweet words of a child, the consequence of that is the living entity forgets his real identity. Similarly, a conditioned soul is shackled by the charming beauty of a woman, by her solitary embraces and talks of so-called love, and by the sweet words of his small children. Thus, he forgets his real identity. This is the problem. We have heard this story, Srila Prabhupada tells. There was a poor man. He had no food to eat, no home to stay, tattered clothes, full of suffering. And then he meets an astrologer. And the astrologer looks at him and maybe sees his hand or whatever. And then he says, "Oh, your palm shows that you have the fortune of a very rich man. How come you are suffering like this?" He is thinking, how can it be? I know how much I suffer. So the astrologer says, no, you please come on so-and-so date and come and see me. So he's waiting for that date, and then he comes. And the astrologer has called the richest man and the wife in the town, and they meet. And the man and the woman, the rich man and his wife, they carefully look at the boy, this poor boy, and they suddenly recognize that boy is actually their son, whom they had lost as a small boy. And immediately the connection happens, and then they embrace the boy. They are very happy, and the boys say, "Oh my God, this is what they are my parents." And then they take him home. And once they take him home, all his problems are solved. Right? Here, the astrologer is like the spiritual master who connects the living entities who are suffering in this world. Although they are part and parcel of Krishna, although we are part and parcel of Krishna, we are suffering in this world, and connects us to the Supreme Lord, Krishna. And then there is wonderful life. So in this example, the poor man, the poor boy, was suffering because he did not know his real identity. That was the problem. Because he didn't know his real identity, he thought he was a poor boy, no one to take care of him, and all the suffering that he was going through. And what did the astrologer do? Revive his real identity, connect him, and make him aware, and as a result, all his problems were solved. So, this is the grave and serious consequence of all these charms and embraces and talks of love and the sweet talk of the children and all of that. What happens? What can happen to a conditioned soul? He is charmed by these things and he forgets his real identity. Srila Prabhupada further says something very interesting. Not only does he forget his real identity, as a consequence of forgetting the real identity, the next thing that happens, Prabhupada is pointing out, is that he forgets his real duty. That's the next thing, right? You think you are someone else, and then you start thinking my duty is something else from your real duty. So, for sense gratification, a woman creates an illusory love, and the man becomes enchanted by such false love and forgets his real duty. See, this is what is actually happening. These are all Bhagavatams and Srila Prabhupada's very, very wonderful analysis of what is happening to the conditioned soul. And if we see, this is exactly what is happening to all of us, how we are getting trapped. Just a few days back or 2 days back, there was a death of a very big political leader in our country, chief minister of a state, and very powerful, very popular leader, and suddenly the person dies. And there is so much of all his fans and supporters, they're all very sorry and this big. Now the whole thing is that the man was powerful and he ruled the state for 5 terms as a chief minister. Yeah, these are all very wonderful things. But ultimately we see, where did that person go? Such a powerful, popular, very, very kind leader who cared for his people. Where did he go? This is such a striking fact of life. So the thing is that we do not understand who we are, what are we supposed to do, what is our real identity, and what is our real duty. Our real identity is that we are part and parcel of Krishna, and our real duty is to serve him. So this is actually the essence of all Vedic wisdom. But people don't know these things. People think that they should go practice religion simply to enhance the false duties coming out of the false identity that they have created. This is the general understanding. Of course, the religious component will purify them. But by and large, what people do is that they go to temple, they practice some kind of an austerity. It could be different religion or whatever. By all of those things, what their aspiration is that I'll get some more enjoyment in this life. Simply to further expand that illusion that they are already in. That is why in Kali Yuga, such materially motivated religions are not recommended. That's part of Vedic knowledge, that's part of Vedic culture, that is part of Vedic tradition. But what was the intent in all of those? Hardly anybody knows. That's why when Krishna makes that statement, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyaha. And our acharyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas and Srila Prabhupada point that out. The final purpose of all of these Vedic rituals and practices is finally to know Krishna. This is not a small revelation. This is not a small thing. It's a very, very rare recognition that ultimately Veda ischa sarvai rahameva, where Krishna is saying, from all this I am to be known. Not many people come to this conclusion. It's there. Krishna has said it. But people don't take Krishna's words seriously. They don't believe in Krishna's words. That's the special thing about our acharyas. Krishna's words have to be taken with utmost gravity. This is how Arjuna took. Whatever you are saying, I sarvameta dhrutam manye enmam vadasi Keshava. Keshava, whatever you are saying, I accept that as the truth. So that's the spirit of acceptance of Arjuna of Krishna's words. And Prabhupada says we should accept Krishna's words in the same spirit as Arjuna accepted. That's receiving knowledge in parampara. Because the parampara means to receive it in the same spirit that it was passed on, the intention that was passed on, to grasp that one. So this is what is happening. How another example that Srila Prabhupada gives is a man who is drunk. When someone gets drunk a lot, then the first thing that happens to him is he forgets his real identity. He may be a big surgeon. When he's fully drunk, his hands are all shaking. You give him scissors, all that in his hand, he'll mess up. He cannot perform his duty. When we come under the effect of alcohol, then we lose our identity. And then once we lose our identity, we don't perform our duties. This is exactly what is happening to a conditioned soul. So, once Prabhupada was this was in 1976, and in New York, ISKCON had the big temple, and it was a big building, not skyscraper, but it was 11 floors high, in the midst of all big skyscraper buildings in Manhattan. So Prabhupada was in his quarters. His quarters were in the 11th floor. And so Prabhupada was talking to a few disciples, and he had one disciple in front of him who had just then taken sannyas, a young sannyasi disciple. So Prabhupada asked, "Have you seen New York women?" So this young sannyasi didn't know what to say. Prabhupada is asking me about New York women. And then Prabhupada went on to say, they are so beautiful, they are so charming. And still he didn't know what to say. And then Prabhupada went on to say, and by their charming beauty, they are controlling the men. And because the men are controlled by the charming beauty of the women, all these skyscrapers are coming up. And a big city is manifest. This is all Vishnu Maya. So, actually it begins this way. How when a man becomes captivated by the charming beauty of a woman and many things that come with it, including children and the sweet words of children, these things capture. And then one leads to another. And actually, the word stri, Prabhupada explains this. Strinam. The word stri in Sanskrit means that which expands. It is supposed to mean that one who expands the material field of enjoyment for a man. That's one way of looking. Another way of looking is expands the sphere of suffering for a man. That's the pravritti marga looking and nivritti marga way of looking at things. So that's exactly what Prabhupada is saying. It is because they are charming beauty, men are controlled by that. And because of that, men want to keep the woman happy, the family happy, and that means more money, more this and that. And so they think, they use their mind, they use their intelligence to create different kinds of activities in this world, businesses and big businesses and bigger businesses. And all of this comes about. How? It starts with the charming beauty and being charmed by a woman, and how life can become very, very complicated. And forget the real identity and forget real duty. That is what is happening to a conditioned soul in this material world. And Prabhupada is also pointing out Strinam Asatinam. This love between man and woman, it is actually false. It is the way the condition, the Lord, material energy has designed it like that. Actually, we should not become women haters because of that. That's not the intention. We should hate ourselves, our own karma, that why am I getting carried away like this? They are not doing anything. They are just leading their lives. It's all going on in the man's mind. All this being captivated and being charmed, all that. So, and that love and all those kind of things that a man experiences or a woman experiences, it is all an illusory thing. Just like we were talking about the man who had a lot of power and influence. He had a family, all of that, and he had so many supporters, fans, and all of that. Where is he and where is all that love? It has no place at all. This is not first time. For thousands of years there have been kings and emperors who are very powerful with lot of followers and fans and supporters, and this is not the first time humanity is witnessing this. It has happened again and again and again and will continue to happen. Where is all that love? Where is all that power? Where is all that influence? But we never learn. We think that no, there is pleasure there. We run after that. That's why it is said, Strinam Asatinam Chamayaya. It is actually a false fabrication of Maya. The most powerful fabrication is the man and woman. There are other fabrications also. Parents and children, brothers and sisters, the family and the friends and the nationhood. All of these are fabrications of Maya. Because ultimately none of those things are true. We are not of this family. We are not men. We are not women. Or this is just a temporary feature. The soul is now captured in a body. And that body goes through a certain phases. And in those phases of growth and deterioration, different kinds of relationships get created. But none of those relationships and the love and the affection that one feels, none of them, they don't exist in time. They just vanish. So where was it? It was all the creation of the mind. That's why the Bhagavatam is pointing out, Asatinam Chamayaya. But the conditioned soul thinks that asat to be sat. To come out of this, we need special blessings of the Lord. That's why it is said, without Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, asatyera satya kaurimani. We consider asatya, asat to be sat. And we will be leading our whole life. And there are other ignorant people who will be glorifying us and further affirming our ignorance. You see? And that way solidifying our ignorance. So that's what happens in this world. When people are in ignorance, they celebrate and glorify certain things which are false. And when such celebration and glorification of false things happen, that emboldens and solidifies our confidence in it, and we continue to pursue that. This is what happens. So, to get out of this, we need the mercy of the Lord. We need the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. We need the mercy of the spiritual master. Otherwise, it's not possible. So, Prabhupada says that we must constantly pray to remain on the spiritual platform. Because our true existence is on the spiritual platform, because we are spirit soul. The spirit soul in this body, with the body, mind, intelligence and all of that, unfortunately, that consciousness of the spirit soul, instead of remaining as the spirit soul, descends and degrades into bodily consciousness. And once we are in the bodily consciousness, we seek bodily pleasures and bodily relationships, and we become entangled with that. So to again remain on the spiritual platform, we need blessings of the spiritual master, Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and for that we should be constantly praying. That's what our life should be. There should be in the background of we may be doing many things consciously. We have to do many things in the service of the spiritual master, and Krishna's mission. While we are doing that, in the background, there should be constant prayer to the Lord, keep me on the spiritual platform. So here, Kapila Deva has used a word in this verse, Akshipt Atmendriya Strinam. The word Akshipta is a very interesting word. It means to be charmed. That's the sense that Prabhupada has also used here. He's charmed by the embrace and the loving words of the wife and the sweet words of the children. Shishunam Kalabashinam. Actually, what charms us is an indication of our level of consciousness. What subject matter delights us? What subject matter charms us, captivates us, is an indication of our level of consciousness. The conditioned soul, who is in illusion, he is charmed by these things. Now, Bhagavatam offers an alternative. Someone can be charmed by something else. And the great example is Shukadev Goswami, and it is described in the Bhagavatam, Harer Gunakshiptha Matihi Bhagavan Bhadarayanihi. Same word, Akshiptha Matihi. Shukadev Goswami, who is Bhagavan Bhadarayanihi, Bhagavan is a very powerful sage. He was a powerful saint. And Bhadarayanihi, Bhadarayana is Vyasadeva's name. Bhadarayanihi is son of Badarayana. That powerful sage, powerful devotee, powerful saint, Shukadev Goswami. What was he? How was he? Harer Gunakshiptha Matihi. His Matihi, his consciousness was Harer Guna akshipta, charmed, captivated by the wonderful qualities of Hari. Look at the contrast. One can be akshipta strinam, atma indriya akshipta, or one can be Harer guna akshipta. That's the alternative that's available. Because we can't lead a dry life. Nothing boring, nothing is exciting. We can't be like that. We need to be excited constantly. We need to be charmed, we need to be delighted constantly. Otherwise, life will become dull, boring. We can't live like that. We need something to be constantly pushing us. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings is that our natural state is to be constantly excited and charmed and delighted to the levels of ecstasy of Krishna Prema. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals that that is the natural perfection of every living entity. Krishna Prema Nitya Siddha Sadhya Kabunai. That is the state of existence of the soul. Constantly excited, constantly charmed, constantly in ecstasy. So it's not even some kind of a neutral, some kind of a passive love for Krishna. No, it is full of ecstasy and ecstatic activities. That's the state of consciousness of the pure spirit soul, unaffected by the modes of material nature. That's pure consciousness. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is offering. How we can bring the living entity to that pure consciousness. And Bhagavatam and the great devotees mentioned in the Bhagavatam are all examples of that. Harer gunakshipta matihi bhagavan bhadarayanihi adhyagad mahadakyanam nityam vishnu jana priyaha. Because Shukadev Goswami was formerly a monist. He did not understand the personal relationship with Krishna. He thought that to be in Brahman consciousness was the highest. Later on, his father, Vyasadeva, initiated him into bhakti, love of Krishna. And then when he was initiated, Adhyagad Mahadakhyanam, he very minutely started studying the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mahadakhyanam, the great narrative, great narration. He studied Adhyagad Mahadakhyanam, Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha. And he became very dear to Vishnu Janas, to other devotees. Prabhupada also says, Akshipta means to become mad. Shukadev Goswami was mad after Hari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also exhibited being mad after Krishna. That's the kind of a madness that we should aspire. Instead of, like conditioned soul, being mad after women, the beauty of the women, the charms, and the sweet words of children, and all of those things, which is simply going to make us forget our real identity and make us depart from real duty. So this is the option that's available to us, to become mad after Krishna or to become mad after material things in this world. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.